about Mr. Horner and Red Bull, and messages were what made him undone. Well, they haven't made him undone, because there was an inquiry. I'm not sure how legal it was, but I guess there's a difference between his legal requirement and any moral requirement.
Yes,
I had a look.
Yes.
I had a look at it. It says, those who participate in Formula One must abide by the International Sporting Code, Article 12.2. If the code states that a competitor will be deemed to have committed an offence for, quote, any words, deeds or writings that have caused moral injury or loss to the FIA, its bodies, its members or executive officers, and more generally on the interest of motorsport and the values defended by the FIA. Well, they say morally.
But we're not talking about a 19th century interpretation of the scandal of a workplace affair. We're talking about the original allegation, and we'll go into that in a bit shortly. The big news in the beginning of the Formula One season, big Formula One fan, although I was at Silverstone driving my own race car yesterday and missed the race. The big news is not sporting. It's to do with this political wrangling and this scandal. Probably more political and shareholder wrangling, actually, if you look beneath the story. This is a great example of the deeper you delve, the more you realize it's not what you're being told. So, boss of Formula One world champions, Red Bull, Christian Horner, he's been cleared of sexual misconduct, but it seems to be still a story and still rumbling on with kind of briefing to the media, innuendo, and a leak of text messages that is not verified. And we can't really say, we can talk about if they are accurate, what it then means. But the background to this is actually Red Bull are a very successful Formula One team. Max Verstappen, triple world champion. F1 is also in its moment and very, very popular thanks to Netflix, Drive to Survive, and various modernizations. That franchise is valuable, and their top driver, Max Verstappen, is the kid of the moment. Really, Christian Horner is the top team boss. I think you can't really argue with that because he's had world championship teams in 2 stints, and he was with the team basically from the beginning. He's even married to a Spice Girl, Jerry Halliwell. Ginger Spice, I think so. Red Bull owned 49% by Red Bull in Austria, 51% by the OG Thai company, the drinks company that has the origin. So what's the problem with all this? Well, the Austrian faction, since Dietrich Mateschitz died, their heirs appear to have fallen out with the team manager, Horner, and they have an ally in Max Verstappen's father, Jos Verstappen, who's a bit of an interesting character, a few arrests, I think even a conviction for domestic violence over the years. But and I don't want to be quoted on that in case he wasn't convicted, but he's certainly a colourful character, very direct and very keen on, very happy to talk to the press with controversial opinions. But that's just 49%, that faction. So what's happened is they've done some digging, clearly. They found out about what looks like it might just be an affair, called it controlling and coercive behaviour, as if it's a sexual offence or a domestic abuse. But the Thai bosses, they won't fire him because he's been cleared by a King's Council who did an independent investigation. Interestingly, that King's Council hasn't been named. Not sure why. But you have now the Austrian faction and Jos Verstappen with not a great deal of subtlety briefing against him and even apparently leaking what may or may not be the WhatsApp messages, interestingly, to a Dutch newspaper, Max and Jos, both Dutch. So what we've got is open internal war.
This is a battle of the boardroom and using the court.
Absolutely, trying to use a legal means for as just another piece of artillery in this open internal war between shareholders that's spilling out in a really ungratifying way, damaging their own brand of Red Bull, distracting us from Formula One as the season is starting when it's at its peak. You're right, the legal route, Trisha, it's failed. It's now turning into leaks and gossip, and I have to say, I've seen these text messages. Some newspapers have published them. And I tell you what, if they are to be believed, then there's no sexual offence. There's no offence of coercive behaviour. It looks like flirting and maybe a little bit worse. Apparently, there's some kind of sexual image photograph. Thank God I haven't seen that. But interestingly, Christian Horner and said Spice Girl, Jerry Halliwell, they were seen in the Formula One paddock yesterday. Cameras were around. There was a rather dramatic and stagey kiss. I don't think that was any accident. I want to say this: if you're going to try and weaponize lawyers against somebody as savvy as Christian Horner, who's been playing the political game in the shark-infested waters that is the Formula One paddock for the best part of a decade and a half, make sure you're going to win. For now, it's Red Bull, the Austria faction. They're in P2. Christian Horner, a couple of seconds ahead in P1.